Just a couple of years ago, my guest today was in a much different way. He was using a walker, he was in poor health, and now he's in his 70s and healthier than ever. He is truly proof that it is never too late to reconquer your health, and now he has dedicated his life to helping others find their way no matter what stage they are in life. And with that, we welcome Bob Madison to the exam room. Bob, thanks for being here, my friend.
Well, Chuck, it's my pleasure. And after that introduction, I feel like dropping and doing 10 push ups. That was really a motivating experience for me. That's for sure.
Would you please? I mean, as a ex-military guy, I'm sure you're all too familiar with dropping and giving a couple push-ups.
Yeah, there's not enough room here.
Bob Madison, let's set the table here. So, as we talk here today, you are how old?
I am 74. I will
Well,
be 75, that three-quarter century mark in February.
ooh, all right, right around the corner. How you feeling about that? That's a big one, man.
I'm feeling great about it. My wife hits it just a little bit before I do, so I get to tease her for 58 days until I hit it. And she's technically born the year before me. That makes it even more uh, uh, I don't
Bob,
know, harassing, if you
Bob,
will. Yeah,
did
I
you
know.
really just throw your wife under the bus like that? Did you really just give out
Eh,
her age?
yeah, well, yeah, but see, if you saw her with me, you would agree that she does not look the older of the two of us. So, uh, I don't think she minds that much. She's put up with it for 52 years. So, what are you going to do?
Fair enough. Just
Yeah,
just let me know if we need to send you a blanket and pillow for the couch, and we'll
gotcha.
send you one that's got the podcast logo on it. Because you took one for the team today, Bob.
Okay, okay.
Oh boy. All right. So you're 74.
I'm 74.
But back in 2021, 70 looked a lot. Well, 71 at the time. Life was a lot different for you. What was going on?
Yeah, well, actually, it was more like March of 72, March of 2022. Um, I had really gotten myself into some horrible, horrible health issues through no fault of my own. I uh, actually could I go back to 2012?
It's your story, brother. Take us all
My
the way
story.
back as
Okay,
far as you need to.
okay. Well, my kindergarten teacher was Mrs. Rittenhouse. No, I won't go back that far. Uh,
2012 and you were in kindergarten.
yeah.
That's a whole other podcast, man.
Okay. So, in December of 2012, my wife and I were. It was Christmas Eve, and we were getting some things together at the grocery store to head for Ohio for Christmas. I live in Indianapolis, and I started having this weird sensation of my heart not beating a full beat. Like it felt like it was like a half a beat, then a half a beat, then a half a beat. And then I started getting really lightheaded and I got dizzy. And I put my hands on the counter and my wife looked at me. She said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Should I call 911?" And I said, "Sure." So she did. Then I was diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And what that is it's where a one of my ventricles, the muscles in it had thickened and made the chamber a little bit smaller. And while it's a not a great condition to have, it's not a life-threatening condition or a super serious condition. And the recommendation for me was to have an ICD installed in my chest. ICD stands for implantable cardio defibrillator. So it had a defibrillator portion to it, which would be like taking the paddles and saying clear and go boom. And I guess if my heart were to stop for I think 10 seconds, it would that would actually kick in. And if it exceeded, I think 200 beats a minute, it would do it as well. And probably if it got really, really super low. At any rate, there was also a pacemaker portion to this as well. Now, when I was first diagnosed and first recommended for that, I was told to get a second opinion, and the second opinion confirmed that I should get one of these things put in. At first, I had a portable cardio defibrillator that I wore like a vest, and then that was in this, like I say, December 2012, and then in I think it was February 26th of 2013, they actually installed one in my right here below my slightly below my collarbone, and the leads actually go right to the heart, so that the heart would receive the electrical shock if needed. Now, at that time, I don't remember how much I weighed, but I was not, in the ideal weight. I know I was starting to get type 2 diabetes. I was having some problems. I had high cholesterol, and I knew there was something else that I needed to do, but I just didn't know what I needed to do. In September of 2013, I saw the documentary Forks Over Knives, which many people have seen. And for those of you who may not have seen it, the title comes from this: use forks to eat properly so you don't have to resort to surgical knives later. And when I watched that video, there was one person in the video that really struck home for me, and it was Dr. Caldwell B. Esselstyn Jr., who is at the Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio. He talked about how people with a plant-based diet cleared out their veins and arteries to avoid having to have coronary bypass surgery. And I thought to myself, wow, now that's pretty powerful. And I thought, I wonder, has this guy done anything with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy? So I called the Cleveland Clinic, got hold of his receptionist, told her, asked her if I could speak with him. And she said, well, he's not here right now, but give me your name and phone number and I'll have him call you. And I go, yeah, right. This guy's going to call me. Well, a couple hours later, not only did he call me, he called me from his home, which I thought was rather remarkable. Anyway, excuse me. Hadn't done anything with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. However, he said that if I did switch to a whole food, plant-based, no salt, oil, or sugar extra added, that it could do nothing but improve my health. Now, I'd already been on it for about 2 weeks, because when I finished watching the Forks Over Knives, I immediately went whole food, plant-based. Now, oddly enough, a week after I talked to Dr. Esselstyn, I went to a conference in California that was put on by the Plantrition Project, and it was called the Plant-Based Nutrition Healthcare Conference. And I actually met Dr. Esselstyn there. And he is a vibrant, elderly gentleman. And I say elderly because he still practices and he's still vibrant, and he will be 90 years old in December. So there is something to this whole food, plant-based lifestyle, and he's a primary example of what it can do for you. I also met a Dr. Dean Ornish at that conference, and he is also a heart specialist. Had not done anything with cardiomyopathy, but he echoed what Dr. Esselstyn told me. I met T. Colin Campbell. He was the co-author of the China study, along with his son, Dr. Tom Campbell. Remarkable book. I recommend it to anybody, particularly doctors. And so I got to know all these guys. So for 16 months, this guy right here was 100% plant-based all the way. Then, actually what happened is I at the time, I only needed to lose 50 pounds only. So I lost the 50 pounds I needed to lose. My A1C dropped well down into the you don't have pre-diabetes range. I think it was like 5.3 or 5.4, something like that. My cholesterol plummeted, and I was rocking and rolling. Then, stupidly, in February of 2015, my wife and I went out to celebrate my birthday, and I got grouper, waffle fries, chocolate cream pie, and all the other crud that goes along with a meal like that. And it was like an alcoholic falling off the wagon. I started to go back up. Fortunately, I caught myself before I got all the way back, and I went back to the whole food plant-based regimen and came back now. So that's twice I showed people that eating properly, you can reverse all that stuff. And at the time, I really wasn't that physically active. Had I been more physically active, it would have gone off a lot faster than it actually did. So anyway, I caught myself, like I said. Then I don't remember how much time later, I stupidly did it the second time. And I really was ticked off at myself for doing it because this time I went back up a little bit higher than I had the previous time. But I caught myself, went back down. So 3 times I showed people that proper eating with exercise, because I started to do some, at least some walking. I was walking when I would go to Arizona to visit my son and his family out there. I would walk this 3 mile loop, and that was helping considerably. But looking at me, you would think I would be smart enough, or maybe you would think, now I know why he did this. The third time was the worst time. The third time I went off, during that third time, developed a sciatic nerve problem. I had to go on a walker, and I don't remember the time frame between all these fall offs of the getting off the falling off the wagon and so forth. But I got up to I'm 5'9". I got up to 247 pounds. I had an A1C of 9.7. I was on both the slow and fast acting insulin. I My cholesterol was through the roof, had the high blood pressure, and this was now March of 2022. That would have made me 73. Um, and uh, in March of 2022, on the 21st of March, I had something called a TIA, which is a short for mini stroke. And that was weird when that happened, because I was sitting watching TV, and all of a sudden, this kind of like an oval ring appeared in front of my left eye, and there were red, white, and blue, very patriotic lights going around this loop like a marquee, a neon sign marquee. And I thought, what in the heck is going on? And then I started feeling kind of disassociated. Could come up with a term. So I have one of these buttons. I've fallen and I can't get up buttons. I pressed that, and the guy came on, and he said, "Mr. Madison, do you need some help?" And I said yes. And then I tried to tell him what I needed, and the words I know words were coming out of my mouth, but they were making no sense. It was just absolutely ridiculous what I was saying, and I don't even recall what I was saying. So he caught on real quick that I needed help. So he says, "Are you at home?" And I did manage to say yes to that. He said, "We'll send somebody right out." I got up. I went into where my wife was working. She works from home, and she was then working, and I was trying to tell her what was going on, and I couldn't get it out, and I got so frustrated, and I was so scared. I started crying, and she came over and was consoling me, and I did manage, I guess, to tell her that somebody was on the way, and they came. They took me to the hospital. So they did all the testing that I needed. Now, once I got to the hospital, I really started improving, because these TIAs are short lived. However, I did look it up on the internet, found out that if a TIA is a sign that a serious stroke could be on its way, unless you do something about it. And the something about it would be get rid of the weight and all this other stuff. So when I did get home a day or so later, I said to my wife, I said, "Would you agree that my health is our number one priority right now?" And she said, "Oh, yes." So I immediately went back to whole food, plant based. I signed up to do some things, and I signed up with some organizations. Now, I had already been signed up with the Food Revolution Network, but I wasn't active with it. It was there. I was signed up and I was paid up. I discovered Mastering Diabetes, I think about halfway through April. And that book, I was going to have some books here. I was going to hold them up and show people to read them, and I forgot to get them. But Mastering Diabetes is a book that every doctor should have to read, every nurse should have to read, and anybody that wants to be healthy, whether they have diabetes or not, should read that book. It is incredible. The two guys that started Mastering Diabetes are incredible young men who have helped literally thousands of type 2 diabetes people put their type 2 diabetes in remission, and many, many, many type 1 diabetics reduce their insulin drastically. So if you're listening to this and you're in that pre-diabetic range or diabetic range, whichever, I would highly recommend that you go to masteringdiabetes.org and get that book, read it, and do what it says to do in there. All right, so then I signed up to go back to one of those committee meetings, the plant-based nutrition healthcare conferences in September of last year uh, with the Plantrition Project. I signed up to do that. And I signed up to go to a health retreat in Sedona, Arizona with Rip Esselstyn and Plant Strong. Now, Rip Esselstyn is the son of the Dr. Esselstyn that I mentioned previously. Fantastic young guy. Well, some people wouldn't say he's young, but I, being 74, would say he's young. Anyway, that was I'll get to that retreat in a minute. So about the middle of last summer, I had an epiphany, and I thought to myself, you know what? I know I'm getting healthier. I can feel it. The weight's coming off. I got off the insulin rather quickly. I don't really recall exactly when. My statin drug for my cholesterol was cut in half, and things were going great. I was eating properly. I was getting involved in fixing up some of my own recipes, and just having a ball with it, really. And um, so I thought to myself, okay, if I can coach myself to better health at 73, why can't I coach someone else as well? So then I thought, I want to become a health coach, and I want to help older people get healthy again, or younger people, anybody that would want me to be their coach, just get them healthier again. But I really want to key in on the older people, because there are so many people in my age group that literally throw in the towel. They just give up on life. They may be on a walker like I was. They may have diabetes like I do, and they just say, heck with it. I'll just take my metformin and my insulin. I'll eat whatever the heck I want, and when the time comes, it comes. And you don't have to do that. Absolutely do not have to do that. And I'm a case in point. Now, I got to the point where, I was on, like I said, I was on this walker about 20 months or so ago. And I have gotten into an exercise routine that would make a lot of young people puke, probably. I've got to the point where I've got I've got I've got one of those total gyms. I don't know if you've ever seen them or not. They were
Oh, yes.
advertised by Chuck Norris. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Now, on my total gym, I got a couple of accessories for it. One of them is called the Cyclo Trainer, which goes at the bottom of it, which allows you to actually lean back like this and then pedal. So you get a nice aerobic workout, but you're not putting the stress on your knees and your joints and all that. And you can watch football while you're doing it, or whatever you want to watch. Then there's another attachment that goes up at the other end, and it's called the I think it's abdominizer. You put your forearms on this cushiony part of it, and then there's two handles that you grab like this, and then with your knees on that movable um, board, you just pull your knees up into your chest and you do crunches. Okay, now having said all that, my routine goes like this. On odd number days, I do 300 crunches, 25 at a time, 3 minutes apart, and then I do 45 minutes on the cyclo trainer. On the even number days, I do a 20 exercise routine from the cables, all that good stuff on the total gym, and 45 minutes on the cyclo trainer. I don't know of anybody my age that would do that or could do that. I got to the point where I just love doing it, and I'm looking forward to it. In fact, when I'm done with this interview, I think I'm going to jump on it and do that stuff. All right, so let's see. Now we're the retreat in Sedona, Arizona, with the Plant Strong people. That was fantastic. That was a blast. It was a great time. Just met some really nice people that I've actually subsequently met up with at other conferences. And in fact, there was this one lady named Anne who kind of became my lunch buddy, and she was at the uh, plant-based nutrition healthcare conference at this year in California. So I went again this year, as you probably figured out. And then in October, just last week, we were at the T. Colin Campbell uh, Center for Nutrition Studies retreat up by Rochester, New York, and I ran into some other people that I'd met previously from other experiences as well. And then in the spring, I also went to the or the health retreat with the Plant Strong Again. It was at Black Mountain, North Carolina. So every 6 months they have one of these retreats, and I would encourage people that if they are even remotely thinking about becoming whole food plant based or just simply want to become healthier, I would highly recommend their retreat, because not only is the food fantastic because they fix it on site, they make sure it's whole food, plant based, no added sugar, oil, or salt. They have great speakers come in. There's a Dr. Michael Clapper, who is one of the godfathers of the whole food plant based movement, and just a great cadre of people coming in and giving wonderful information. And plus, you're going to make some lifetime friends at those things as well. They're just a fantastic group. And gosh, there's anywhere from early 20s to, I think there was some lady that was close to 90 that was at the one in Black Mountain. So all kinds of wonderful people there.
Oh yeah, and those retreats and the conferences, I mean, he really does call to people of all walks of life, all age groups, men, women, all around the world. It's really unique, the band of brothers and sisters who come together for these things. And so it's interesting, or actually not surprising in the least, that you've, made some friends that pop up at all these different conferences that you'll see there. And I want to ask you though, I want to go back. There's a lot to unpack there in your story, but I want to go back to um, the decision you made that first night that you kind of fell off the wagon,
Mhm.
as you said, and you
Right.
had the grouper and the waffle fries, and I think you mentioned a dessert as well. Eh,
Chocolate cream pie.
Chocolate cream pie. There it is, Bob. So my question is this, man. Did you think at that point, I can handle this? I can have just this one meal and tomorrow I'm going to be fine. I'll be right back on my diet. Or did you realize in the moment that you're kind of opening Pandora's box a little bit there and you're kind of walking right back into a personal health hell?
Gosh, maybe a little bit of both, Chuck. I know the initial thought was, okay, I screwed up. So what? Go back. And then yeah, I did get kind of scared because I thought to myself, oh my gosh, am I going to go back to this horrible way that I was before? And even though I got scared, I did. It's tough. It's not the easiest thing in the world, because I would be lying if I said I didn't miss a bacon cheeseburger.
Mm,
I'd be lying if I didn't say I miss ice cream, and my favorite flavor of ice cream was cold. And it's just one of those things that you just have to eliminate it. And then people will say to me, well, you know what, if you do something in moderation, it's okay. So here's my response to that. First off, I've never heard anybody define what moderation is. So I come back with this: is one hot dog a week moderation? Is one bacon cheeseburger a week moderation? Is snorting one line of cocaine a week moderation? And they think, cocaine, what's that? And I said, is cocaine good for you? And they say, no. Is a bacon cheeseburger good for you? No. Is a hot dog good for you? No. Then why are you putting it in your body?
mm.
So, as far as I'm concerned, moderation is not a player. You need to just cut it out and leave it out, and neither the twain shall meet, so they say. So, uh, it took me a while. Well, it took a mini stroke to get me to realize that, and and the mini stroke is always the thing that gets me when I think to myself, "Do I really want to just this one time?" And I go, "No, you
Hmm.
don't." And you just have to put things in really, really true perspective. Do you want the enjoyment on your palate, or do you want the enjoyment circulating through your body? That's
Right.
that's 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 kind of what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, my experience, losing weight and going up and down the scale for, I mean, all of my young adult life was very similar to that. And I would have these very serious conversations with myself where I would convince myself that I could handle just the one meal. Or in my case, as I've said on the show before, one nacho. I call it my one nacho theory. And that one nacho becomes a second and a third. And before you know it, you're
One
right
bag.
back at the drive through, the whole bag, all day, every day, and all that weight comes rushing back on. All of that hard work that you would put in has just magically been erased.
Oh,
And
and yeah, and since I've been there, Chuck, I know what you mean. You just feel so angry at yourself.
yes,
You'd like to
yes,
take yourself out back
yes.
and just beat the crap out of yourself. But I don't know if anybody's ever beat the crap out of themselves.
I mean, I famously tell the story of being so angry one day. I was being paid to endorse a diet on the radio, and I was on day 3 without fast food, and I got so angry. You want to talk about anger, man? I got so angry. It was going through withdrawals. I punched my fist through a wall because I hadn't gone to Taco Bell, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like that's the power of food. And yet, as you pointed out, we make that decision and we convince ourselves of this time and again. It took you a mini stroke,
Yep.
for goodness sakes, and
Yep.
you still crave the cheeseburger, as you said. You still like the ice cream. Your favorite flavor, cold, right?
Cold, man. You
Yeah,
bet.
man. I got you, because to this day, and here I am 14 years removed from my last bite of fast food. When I'm watching a football game, there are inevitably 18 gajillion commercials for every new item on the fast food menu. And every once in a while, it's still like, yeah, man,
Yeah, that looks
that would
great.
hit the spot,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
the most recent one for me was that I think I want to say it's Domino's Pizza, where they have those big, huge things sticking out the side with the stuffing in the middle of the crust with the
Hmm.
pepperoni and cheese and so forth. And Chuck, I'm gonna go get pizza. I'll be right back. No,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny, but the payoff just, it's not worth it. It's that
no,
short-term high versus long-term pain.
exactly.
And you just kind of learn to ride that out. I want to go back even further than 2012. You have served in both the Marines and the Air Force.
Yep.
Um, you know, kind of a macho environment. I would imagine, you probably your entire life. I could be way off base. We're just talking for the first time,
Yeah.
but you were probably not eating the healthiest diet at all up
Oh
until
no,
fairly recently.
no, no. You are 100% correct. Absolutely 100% correct. And of course, you and I both know that the healthiest diet is a whole food, plant based, no sugar, oil, or salt added to that. Some people say vegan, some people say other things. I kind of like Dr. Joel Furman's term that he came up with, nutritarian. Although I would be called a no meat nutritarian, because he says that every once in a while having a small piece of meat as a side dish, there wasn't anything wrong with that. And that's the only thing that he says that I disagree with. But anyway, getting back to what you said, yeah, um, the mess halls in the military, like when I went through a boot camp in San Diego, California, back in 1967. Uh, in fact, in 1967, right this time of year, I was in boot camp. Anyway, the food was unhealthy. I mean, it was the eggs and fried potato, hash brown potatoes and bacon and sausage, and I'm getting myself sick just thinking about all this stuff. But and grease. Oh my gosh, it was horrible. And even well, one thing I didn't mention in my journey here too is I ended up. Uh, let me divert just a bit here. In the summer of 2018, I came down with a blood bacterial infection, and I was in the hospital on an IV, and I actually ended up having to have my defibrillator taken out. But in the hospital, there was nothing for me to eat. Literally nothing for
Mm.
me to eat. They had oatmeal, but they always threw milk in it. So I said, okay, do you have like soy milk or something like that? And they said, oh yeah, we got soy milk. They bring up a little carton of soy milk. And I think the second ingredient on the soy milk was sugar. Okay, so
Yeah. Room
so
for
at,
improvement
oh
for
my
sure.
gosh, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And these school cafeterias,
Yeah.
pizza, hot dogs, cheeseburgers, blah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, French fries. You name it. It's no better than the doggone fast food place.
Oh
And if
yeah.
I'm not mistaken, there are some hospitals around the country that actually have a McDonald's in them.
100% true. At the
Ah,
Physicians Committee, man, we are working tirelessly to get all of the fast food out of the hospitals and improve the menus for the patients there.
absolutely. Give somebody a whole food plant-based option.
I mean, the menus there at the majority of these hospitals are just mind blowing. And I remember, and just for something completely unrelated to diet, being in the hospital, and the person who was sharing a hospital room with me was there for a cardiac issue. And they ordered up, eggs and bacon. And I was very early on in my plant based journey, but I think that even the old 420-pound me would have recognized that if you're in the hospital for a cardiac problem, bacon and eggs probably not going to be the best option for you on the
I would
menu.
have to agree.
Yeah. And yet,
Jeez.
and yet, it's offered every single day to patients, and it just blows my mind. At
Yeah.
what point does common sense kick in, Bob?
I absolutely. Yeah, I get so frustrated. One of my big concerns are the children in this country. I am always seeing obese children. And I actually said something to I just couldn't take it. This little girl, she was just obese, and her mother was, of course, the same way. And I took a gamble that I wasn't going to get the snot kicked out of me, but I walked up to her and I said, ma'am, if you don't start doing something with your child, you've got to do something, or this kid's going to have diabetes by the time she's 13 if she doesn't already have it.
So, I mean, so that's a delicate conversation, man. And that's one that I think a lot of us think about having with people. But the majority of us probably opt not to do it. You have to
Exactly.
have that one kind of with kid
Yeah.
gloves. Did you let the mom know, like, you're talking from experience though, and that
No,
wasn't necessarily judgment?
no,
Because,
no, because she kind of turned it off right there, and
yeah,
I, I yeah, I got to try to figure out a way to, uh, like
that's
I
tough,
think the
man.
best way to approach something like that now is, hey, I used to weigh this amount of money, this amount, and I used to have this, that, and the other. Say, would you be interested in knowing how I did that? And then see what they say. Maybe that would be something that works.
It diffuses it, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I think back to when I was again super overweight and somebody would have a conversation with me, I immediately went on the defensive.
sure,
Immediately. And so even though their intentions sometimes were good, oftentimes it was just like mean and malicious.
sure,
But
yeah,
I'm sure obviously in your case you were well intentioned. But nonetheless, it's a painful message for somebody to hear. And so you just got to figure out that right approach. And
yeah,
whether it's a total stranger or a family member or a friend, really the same principles apply,
yeah,
because you're forcing somebody to have a really hard conversation with themselves that they're probably not ready to have. And in the case of you talking to a mom about her daughter, she's not just on the defensive for herself. At that point, you've awoken
yeah,
Mama Bear. You're not
yeah.
just poking the bear,
I,
you're poking Mama Bear.
I know. She
Yeah.
she really didn't get as mad or as upset as I thought she could have.
Yeah. I
Probably a
got you.
good thing too, or we might not be having this conversation.
I got you.
Yeah.
Question for you. Obviously, you're eating the whole food plant based diet now. What is your take on some of these ultra processed vegan foods that are out there? Would you ever entertain the idea of introducing those into your diet?
I have looked at the ingredients of those things, and in most cases, I would say no. For example, uh, the vegan uh, hamburger patties, that Dr. Prager's, for example, loaded with oil. Um, and I learned the hard way last week what oil does for you. when I went to this conference with the T. Colin Campbell thing, the food was supposed to be whole food, plant based, nothing with added sugar, oil, or salt. Now, when they approached the facility with that information, the chef that they gave the information to left right before we got there. So all of a sudden, some of us thought that first couple of days there, is there oil in this food? But yeah, they put oil in all the food, and even I think it was it kicked off on Monday, Tuesday. I think it was Wednesday when the the cook that was with us uh, told him, said, "Hey, no oil. We said no oil in this stuff." Well, that very evening there were some sweet potatoes there that were kind of like curled up and kind of crispy, almost like fries and everything. And I said to the line person there, "Is there oil in those sweet potatoes?" Well, I'll go check. I came back and said, "Yeah, there's oil in those sweet potatoes so that they'll be crispy."
Mm-hmm.
And I went to I gained 3 pounds at that conference, and I've talked to other people that were there as well, and they gained weight too. And I was active, physically active while I was there, and some of the others were as well. Oils are just nothing but a fat factory. And of course you know this, but it's the oils are 100% fat.
Mm.
And the worst of them is the coconut oil because it's solid at room temperature. And the reason why it's solid at room temperature is because it has 75% saturated fat, just like bacon grease.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, okay, now I've looked at the labels of some of the vegan ice creams, and of course, they're loaded with sugar, of course. Um, and the processed cheeses, all of them are loaded with oil that I've found. I mean, I haven't found any that didn't have oil. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think of some other things. Yeah, that's about it. So I do my own bean burgers, and I got a bean burger recipe from a gentleman named Jeff Novick. Jeff is a whole food plant based person who does speaking, and I really don't know what his specialty is. I think he's a I want to say dietitian, but he's got some DVDs out that I got some bean burger recipes from, and of course you can find them all over the place that are good. Like Forks Over Knives, they have an app. I paid $4.99 for their app, and there's literally thousands of recipes on there. And there's one whole section on burgers. So they're out there. Yeah, it's just that it's you got to spend the time to put it together instead of grabbing it off the shelf and buying it.
For
So
sure.
yeah, so if it's I'm kind of like Jack LaLanne now. For those of
Oh,
you,
that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
I know for those of you who are listening to this that know who Jack LaLanne is, Jack LaLanne always said, "If it's made by man, I am not eating it."
There it is.
That means processed foods, my friends.
So, what does your menu look like these days? Can you walk us through a typical day?
Sure.
And here we go. There we
There we
go.
go. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So here's my website, and if you go to recipes here, I have 3 breakfast recipes and 3 lunch/dinner recipes on here. But these are my concoctions. I came up with these. All right. So here's Bob's breakfast bowl. Okay, and it consists of uh, well, here the ingredients are down here. So it's 1 handful of chopped spinach, 1 medium banana chopped, a half cup uncooked extra thick oats. I use Bob's Red Mill organic. 2 tablespoons of flaxseed meal or chia seeds. That's for the omega 3. A quarter cup of walnuts. Although I backed off on that now since I'm trying to work on losing weight because there's some fat in there. 1 cup of blackberries or any berry you'd like. Blueberries, of course, would be good. And a half a cup of almond milk. I make my own, plus 2 tablespoons of any non-dairy milk will do. Cinnamon, I like it a lot. Vanilla, I like it a lot. And so there it is.
That looks pretty tasty there,
Yeah.
Bob. I could get on board with that plan.
Okay, cool. Well,
Yeah,
jump on
man.
my website and you get her down there. There's the directions and so forth. You can even print the recipe. Okay, so let's go back. Then here's a tofu scramble. Okay, and then the ingredients in the tofu scramble are, of course, well, veggie broth because that's what you do your sautéing in. Half an onion diced, a handful of chopped spinach, minced garlic, curry powder, light miso, uh, firm tofu, and 8 chopped cherry tomatoes. And this is a modification. I want to give credit where credit's due here. It's a modification of the scrambled tofu by Leanne Campbell from her book, The China Study Cookbook, on page 77. And I use spinach and she uses carrots. So little bit of difference there. And then my fast go-to breakfast is this one. Whoops, hello. This one. Okay, and it's basically it takes about 5 minutes to put together. And what it is it's a handful of chopped spinach, one medium banana, one kiwi fruit, a tablespoon of pumpkin seeds, or one or more teaspoons of cinnamon, and just throw it together. And it's very tasty and, like I said, quick to do. The reason why it takes 5 minutes is if you're a slow spinach chopper like I sometimes am. And then let's see. All right, so we go back to uh, lunches and dinners. Okay, I'm a big bean guy. This is what I call cranberry bean Italiano. Didn't that just leap out at you?
That's nice and colorful there, Bob. What kind of, so
The
obviously
rainbow.
we see the red tint from the cranberries. What kind of beans are we rocking today?
Those are cranberry beans.
Cranberry beans.
Cranberry beans. Yeah, I get all my beans from a place called Rancho Gordo, ranchogordo.com. And I'll show you what one of their packs looks like in a minute. So when you say the red in there, that's not cranberries. Because see, cranberry bean threw you off, because there's no cranberries in there.
Uh,
Here's what's in there: the cranberry beans, zucchini, squash, onion, kale, garlic, tomatoes, garlic powder, uh, oregano, rosemary, parsley. I don't think I need that garlic powder there since I have the garlic up here. Wait a minute, do I have? Yeah, that probably need to be taken out there. And then a couple of bay leaves, and then here's how you fix it. But yeah, so that's one of them. And then here's another bean. Well, this is called the 4 bean bonanza. Okay, and there's uh, okay. So in there I have Ayacote Negro beans. Okay, negro is black in Spanish. I don't know what the Ayacote is, but and then there's large white lima beans, and another cranberry beans, and Domingo Rojo beans, which is Rojo is red in Spanish. I don't know what Domingo is. And then there's beets, carrots, celery, onions, rosemary, thyme, and a tablespoon of mint garlic. And here's what some of the Rancho Gordo beans look like. So here's the cranberry beans here that we were talking about, and here's that Ayacote Blanco. Or no, that's over here. This is the Domingo Rojo bean, and this is the large lima bean. Um, so those are from RanchoGordo.com. So you have to soak them and cook them and all this other stuff. So some of these recipes take a while, but you can do them in a slow cooker. And I did try a recipe recently in a slow cooker just to see how it would come out with beans that had not been, that all they've been is rinsed and they haven't been soaked and all that stuff, and they come out just fine. It worked great.
I mean,
And then here's my lima bean delight. Look at that one. Oh, I just love that one.
those are some massive lima beans, man.
Yeah,
Holy
yeah,
Moses.
yeah. Now this dark one here, that's called a Christmas lima bean, and the white is the white large white lima bean, and they are large. All right, and then I do 1.5 cups of the Christmas lima beans uncooked, 1.5 cups of large white lima beans uncooked, and then 2 cups of chopped cabbage, some spinach, onions, diced tomatoes, garlic powder, caraway seeds, dill weed, 4 black cardamom pods, and 2 bay leaves. And one of my favorites by far. This one is, yeah.
And Bob, I'm kind of looking at these ingredients, and I'm thinking This is actually something that could be pretty cost effective. I mean, certainly cheaper than going out and ordering a meal. I
Oh
mean,
gosh,
you're
yes.
talking like beans and chopped vegetables
Ah,
here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. These I forget how much the beans cost per pound like that, but I mean, yeah, okay. So you see the ingredients there. This is just an estimate. I think this makes like 8 to 12 ounce servings.
Mm,
So that even puts the cost even down more. So anyway, that's yeah.
for
Uh,
sure.
yeah. I mess around with these recipes and stuff all the time. Yeah.
I would imagine so. I mean, yeah, that looks like good stuff there.
It is.
Absolutely good stuff.
It is. It is. It is. Yeah. And
Yeah.
like I said, that's my favorite dinner one, and the favorite breakfast one is probably the oatmeal and all the fruit and all that good stuff.
And really quick, I'm just curious. I mean, at the top of the show, we were talking about what your numbers were looking like when you were in your worst shape back in March of 22. So you had your A1C
Yeah.
9.7.
Yeah.
Your weight was at 247 at
Yeah.
that point. How are your numbers looking today?
Well, I'm in. Even after the 4 pound gain that I had last week, I weighed 186.6 today. So that's a total loss of 60.4 pounds. My A1C. That's the only thing that I'm still a little. I don't want to say upset about. Just uh, not feeling the greatest about yet. I am in the pre-diabetic range down to 6.0, but from 9.7 to 6.0, that's a very good move. And I've been told by some medical industry that people my age with a 6.0 would probably kill for. Now, here's the one that'll blow your mind. My total cholesterol, and this was just no more than a week ago, is 93.
Holy cow, you're not even in triple digits?
Nope. And my LDL cholesterol was 30 something and my HDL was 30 something. I trying to remember where the paper is. So my total cholesterol is what is considered to be a little low because they say it should be 100 or higher. And then my HDL cholesterol was a little low because they said it should be 40 or higher. But my LDL cholesterol being where it is, that's just fantastic as far as I'm concerned.
Oh man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Sounds like you're
Yeah.
feeling great.
Oh yeah, and I'm off the statins obviously now because of that those numbers.
For
But I
sure.
was on such a small one anyway. I did mention earlier that my statin dropped in half, but it not only dropped in half one time, it dropped in half another time, a half another time, got down to where it was just 5 milligrams a day, and then now it's nothing.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you're 74 now, and I
Yep.
remember being a kid and thinking like 40 was old.
Oh, I
So
know.
I'm sure that at one point in your life, when you met somebody who was 74, you were like, "Man, that person is ancient."
Yeah. Well,
But
I
yeah,
like to put it in perspective. My grandmother, when I was born, my grandmother was 49. And
okay,
so see here, I'm 70. Almost 70. Well, actually, I'm not 74. I'm 74 and 2/3 plus.
all right, almost at the 3/4 of a century
Almost at
mark
the
here.
3/4 of a century mark. Yeah.
So how is your view on 74, almost 75 different today than what it was even just a year and a half ago?
Oh, that's an excellent question. How do I put that one into words? Well, I was like you when I was a kid. I was thinking, if 45 and you're over the hill, you might as well pack it in. Um, I I don't know if I was looking to the point where, hey, well, we're all gonna die someday, and I don't remember if I was thinking, is this going to be sooner than I planned? Because see, I am the oldest living male in my family over the past 3 generations.
Mm,
So that puts things in rather in perspective for me because my I didn't know either of my grandfathers. They both died very young. One of them was 30 something. He died of an infection but before they had antibiotics. The other one was I think 46 and he died of heart. My dad passed away a month before his 65th birthday with a heart thing. His brother, my Uncle Jim, he was 59 with a stroke. My mom had a brother, my Uncle Dick, he was 68. And then my three brothers were 48, 50, and 55.
Damn,
Yeah.
Bob.
Yeah.
Talk about burying the lead, brother. Did you even think that you would reach 70?
Well, I no, to be honest with you. In fact, I've got a cousin from my, the other side of the family there, who is convinced that he's not. Let's see, how old is John? John was born in, I believe, 1960, 11 years after him. So he's 63. I guess he'll be 64 in yeah, he'll be 64 in January on Elvis's birthday, actually. Uh, but he is convinced that he was should have been gone by now because his dad died at 59, and then his dad died at 40 something.
Mm,
Yeah, so he's convinced. Now, he does have an older brother that's just a little bit younger than I am that is still alive. That I don't understand how he's still alive because he's 300 and some pounds and in a wheelchair with all kinds of diabetes and stuff like that. So he's 70. He just turned 74 last month.
hmm
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are your thoughts now? I mean, a lot of people would take that and say, man, I'm living in overtime. Every day's a bonus at this point. But
Well,
I
yeah.
mean, you know the power of your diet here. So what's the end game, man? We're coming up on the 3/4 of a century mark.
Mhm.
Are we going to be revisiting and doing another interview when you're turning 100?
uh, I was thinking more in terms of 110,
Yeah, Bob, that's what I'm
115.
talking
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
buddy.
yeah, yeah. Because what's happened to me, Chuck, is because I feel so good, and because I know people that have this lifestyle live to be much older. I already mentioned Dr. Esselstyn, a vibrant man who is still practicing medicine, who is still 100% alert, maybe 110% alert, and he's going to be 90 years old in December. And I don't think he's planning on retiring anytime soon. And T. Colin Campbell, the guy that wrote the China study and things like that, that ran that retreat last week, he's going to be 90 in March. So these guys are up there now. So here's my thoughts on it. The way I've done this. Now, I said I was the oldest living male in my family over the last 3 generations. I want to live longer than the oldest known relative that I'm aware of. And I had a great grandmother that was 93, and I had a grandmother that was 93. And my goal is to outlive them. And to be perfectly frank with you, you said it a minute ago. I want you to set up the interview for me when I'm 100.
All right, I'll send you the Outlook calendar invite as soon as we wrap up this interview. We'll pick a day, a
Okay.
quarter century from now, man, and we'll make it happen.
Well, now it's got to be a quarter century plus a little because
Plus a little, right?
I would only be a kid at 99 in 25 years. So
Understood. We
yeah,
want to make sure that you're a full blown adult at that point with
exactly.
responsibilities and
Yeah,
all the things that
yeah,
come with that. Yeah. Good stuff. And here's the thing, man. I mean, you have had this incredible transformation for yourself a number of times. This time, the last time, it is sticking, and you are now paying it forward and helping others.
yeah,
And I love the fact that you want to help others dip into that fountain of youth. So
yeah.
if people can go and work with you, they do that at healthcoachbob.com, correct?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. One other thing I wanted to add, Chuck, is last summer I came across. I was watching an old Twilight Zone episode, and the episode was called "Changing of the Guard," and it starred the late great Donald Pleasance, and he played an old professor at this all boys school, and they were going to retire him and put him out to pasture, and he thought that he hadn't done anything for anyone, and he was standing outside this statue, and the statue was of Horace Mann, an educator that lived from 1796 to 1859. And I was reminded of a quote that was at the bottom of that statue, and it goes, "Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity." And I feel like if I can make one person healthy or healthier, then I will have had that one victory for humanity.
I have no doubt that you have already accomplished that, if by nothing else, simply by being on the show with us here today, because I think you are going to inspire a lot of people with your openness, your honesty, your frankness, and the results. And you put all those things together, you got one heck of a powerful story to share that can uplift and inspire and make that change and improve humanity. And you're
Well,
certainly doing that, brother.
well, thank you, Chuck. I deeply appreciate those thoughts.
Health Coach Bob. Bob Madison. The link to the website is in the show description and in the episode notes. Look forward to speaking with you again in 25 years and change, Bob.
Well, I'd like to speak to you sooner than that, though, Chuck. But
Of course.
for
We'll be in touch. You know how it is. But yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Bob Madison, thanks,
Okay.
buddy.
Thanks, Chuck.
If your health IQ is a couple of points higher than it was a few minutes ago, go ahead and like this video or subscribe to the YouTube channel. And to take it even higher, head over to Apple Podcast or wherever you get your favorite shows. Look for The Exam Room by the Physicians Committee. Hit the subscribe button there as well and help to make your world a healthier place.